guys, it's Editor again from Samani Enterprise Tutors, and today we're going to be looking at how we can view our encrypted RAM using this Stheto debug tool. Okay, so Stheto is a sophisticated debug bridge for Android applications. When enabled, developers have access to the Chrome Developer Tool features, natively part of the Chrome desktop browser. So what that means is that we can use Chrome browser developer tools to see details of our encrypted RAM files. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive straight into the tutorial. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding our needed dependencies. Okay, so we're going to head over to our app level gradle file, and then we're going to add our needed dependencies. We're going to be needing dependencies like butter knife for view injection, Lombok library for eliminating boilerplate code, and then we're going to be using the special RAM adapter. So we're not going to be using the default recycler view adapter, we're going to be using the RAM recycler view adapter, and then we're also going to be using the Stheto dependencies to include Stheto into our application. So I'll just zoom in so that you can see that. Okay, now that's been done. The next thing we are going to want to do is we're going to want to include our RAM plugin. So you head over to your project level gradle file, and then you add this to this dependency block, and then for your Stheto library you're going to have to include inside your repository code block a Maven URL. Okay, so this is highly important for our Stheto to work. And then in your app level gradle file you're going to want to include this line of code, apply plugin RAM Android, and then you just sync your project. Okay, so that being said, that being done, the next thing we want to do is start to set up our RAM database. When we're setting up our RAM database, the first thing we're going to be needing is a RAM object class file. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be using. So this is a public class called countries, and it extends the RAM object. For it to work perfectly fine with RAM, you must extend the RAM object. It's a class with just two variables, the name and age, and then we use the Lombok library in order for us to inject or to reduce boilerplate code for our getter and setter method. So no need to include long getter and setter code here. Okay, now that being said, the next thing we also want to do in setting up our RAM is, in this tutorial we are going to be creating RAM objects from a JSON file. So in order for us to do that, we're going to have to create a JSON file. So in your res folder you're going to right click, click on new, click on directory, and not directory, you're going to click on new Android resource directory, and then you're going to want to have this as raw. Okay, so because I've already created my raw folder here, you just do the same. Okay, and then once you have raw, you're going to right click, click on new, and then you're just going to click on file, and then you're going to name this countries.json. Okay, so once you name that countries.json, and then we're going to impute this. So this is just three JSON objects. First is Nigeria with the age, 58, and then we have South Africa with their age and Ghana with their age. So this is just three JSON objects, okay, Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana. So once we have that set up, once we have our JSON file set up, the next thing we want to do is to set up our custom Realm recycler view adapter. Now for doing that, we will right click here, new, create a new Java class file. I already called it my adapter, so you might just do the same thing. So my adapter, okay, and then once you create that, already created it here, you must extend the Realm recycler view adapter class, and then this takes in countries, which is this, and then the view holder is inside the same class, so it is being referenced by my adapter view holder. And then first of all, we have a constructor here, okay, with the super keyword, and then we have the onCreate view holder method, which we injected using a layout inflator. So we inflated it with this layout file, single row view, which we are going to be explaining in a short time. Then parent as the next argument, and then false to attach to root, and then we return a new object of my adapter view holder, passing in the view as an argument. Now in the unbind view holder class, what we did is first of all get an object called countries, okay, getting it from the get item method, passing in the position as an argument. Then we now set the name and the age of each of our recycler view objects using this line of code, and then adapter view holder class, which extends recycler view holder. We injected our two views, our two text views, using butter knife here, name and age. We injected it here, and then for us to better understand this, okay, so after injecting it here, so that is all the explanation for the custom Realm recycler view adapter class. Now for us to better understand this, we are going to go to creating our layout file. That's the next section of this tutorial. Now in creating our layout file, we're going to go to layout, activity underscore main. Now this is our activity underscore main layout file, which is going to look like this. Okay, so I'll just wait for that to finish. Okay, it's going to look like this. So I'll just zoom this in so that you can see better. It's going to have a text view and then a recycler view. So this text view is just going to show the word countries, and then this recycler view is going to contain each of our Realm objects, which is going to be name, which is going to be Nigeria 58 years, South Africa 107, and then Ghana 61 years. And then for each of our recycler view objects, we created a separate view file called single underscore row underscore view. So to create this file, we just come to your layout, right click, new layout resource file, and then just put in here single underscore row underscore view. Okay, so when you do that, you just click OK, and then this is first of all has the root relative layout file, relative layout tag, and then a linear layout, and then we look exactly like this. So the word countries, and then their age. So this is how each of our Realm objects will look when displayed in our recycler view. Okay, now since we have finished that section, the next thing we're going to have to do is linking everything together. Welcome back. In our linking everything together, the next thing we want to do is we want to create our application class file where we'll be initializing our rem, and then we'll be also initializing our Stheto object. So to create that, you're going to come here, right click, go to new Java class. I already called mine application class, and then for the super class you just entered word application here, and then click on the first one, Android.app, and then click on OK. So this is my application class. It extends the application. Now, in order for us to carry out encryption in RAM, we have to specify a 64-bit key. So first of all, I created a key here, a byte name key, and then in the onCreate method of this class file, we initialize our RAM here by calling rem.init. Okay, and then our key, we created a new 64-bit key here, byte key here. And then in order for us to be able to see this in our Chrome developer tools, we are using our Reto here. So Stheto.initialize, and then here we call Stheto.new initializer builder, putting the context at this, and then we enable our dump app from here. And then the key thing in this application is for us to note this part of the code where it says .enable WebKit inspector. So here we specify our rem inspector modus provider .builder. So we use the context this as a builder. Now we specify our encryption key. So our encryption key, we specify the first argument is the file name, which is real encrypted.rem. So this is going to be the name of our rem file when we create it, and then we specify the key, which is this key created here, and then we build, and then finally we build our Stheto object. Okay, so this is a very important part of this tutorial, this application class that extends the application. So for this to perfectly work well, we'll have to register this manifest. So you come to your manifest, double click, and then you just insert this line of code, Android name, then application class. Okay, so that being done, we're going to head over to the last part, which is going to be our main activity. So I'm going to be explaining this set of code. So the first thing here is we injected our recycler view using butter knife. So to do that, you're just going to place your cursor on your r.layout. Name of your activity layout file, press Alt Insert, and then click on butter knife, generate butter knife injections. And then for this tutorial, the only thing we need is our recycler view object. So we're going to click this and confirm. So I've already done that. So the next thing we did is to create a custom rem configuration where we would specify the key, the configuration of the encryption, and then we can specify the name of the file, which would also align with what we have in our application class when setting up our Stheto, which is real encrypted.rem, and then matches real encrypted.rem. So we specify the encryption key by referencing the static key here, which is this. So we call application class.key, so that the two keys will match when encrypting, and then the same key when we are going to open it using our Chrome, I beg your pardon. So we built our configuration file here, and then the next thing is for us to initialize our rem with our custom configuration created here. So rem is equal to rem.getInstance, so we create it using this. Now the next thing we want to do is to fill up our rem. So this method is called fill up countries rem, which like I said earlier, is creating rem object from a JSON file, which is this countries just JSON. So in this method, the first thing we did is to create a transaction block. This is called a transaction block, and then in the execute folder, we override the execute method. We get an input string. So this is get resources dot open raw resource, which is this r.raw.countries file. So this is still the same JSON file. So when that is being opened, we now call this method realm.createAll from JSON. So we specify the object template, which is this countries.class, which is this just name and age, and then the input stream will this JSON file, and then we'll have a try catch block. So if there's any error, we'll just cancel the transaction. So we head back here. After we've filled up our realm, we then carry out this transaction where we get all the countries in our realm database. So final realm result of countries, we'll call that countries result. So we get all the whole countries in our realm file using realm.where, specifying the class name and then the method find all, and then we commit this transaction. Now the next thing we do is to set up our recycler view. So we set up the layout manager to be a new linear layout manager, vertical, which means everything will be displayed from top to bottom. We set it has a fixed size to true, and then we now set the recycler view adapter to our custom adapter, new custom adapter, specifying the array we want to use, which is countries results. Okay, so that being said, we are done, and then we want to run and check out our realm object in our Stheto. So I just connected my phone, click on run, select your device, and then you click on OK. And since our application is done building, you are going to want to go open your Google Chrome and then impute this into the Chrome address. So Chrome // and then expect, and then once you hit the enter key, is going to bring up the / devices. So you are going to want to look for your application package name. So mine is com.semienterprise.encrypted.ram, and then I'll just okay, since we are done reloading, yes, the name of my application is Encrypted.ram. Just click on the inspect link right there, and then it's going to pop up another window, another Chrome developer window. Okay, so it's going to bring up something like this. So once it's done loading, you want to head to resources, web SQL, and then the name of our file was real-encrypted.ram. So if we go back to Android Studio, you can see it here, real-encrypted.ram. So we're going to go back to our dev tools. Under real-encrypted.ram, we're going to see class countries, and then we're going to see the three objects, that's Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana, which was in our countries.json file. So you remember, so Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana. So guys, thank you for watching, and God bless you.